Hi everyone. Good morning. I have a hard task of keeping the energy up after the last session. So hopefully I can continue with that. So my name is Sapan Parekh. I am the co-founder, head of business at Leegality. We just had a 2-minute clip of Mr. Rahul. Mr. Rahul, imagine him to be the one driving your business, right? He or she is the one who's on the field interacting with your customers. Uh, the customers remember your brand name, but the customers also remember Rahul, right? So it's very important to see what happens in Rahul's life, which is what we saw. Rahul struggled during the day. Rahul had a hard time filling the paperwork. Rahul had a hard time reaching your customer. Even then, the customer went with a better option, right? So today in my presentation, we are going to see how we can turn paperwork into paperless and how that can become a competitive advantage. At the same time, we will also look at if you already have a digital process, is there an opportunity for us to make a better process which is more compliant with what an IRDA regulation says or what an RBI regulation says, right? But before I jump in further, I would like a show of hand in terms of how many people we have from the insurance sector here. Just a show of hands. Okay. So we have this segment. Okay. People from the banking and NBFC and fintech space. Okay, great. So people have found their own groups. Great. ठीक है. Another question, which actually contextualizes everything we are going to do. How many of you prefer to use, let's say, a UPI instead of using cash? UPI, net banking, credit card instead of cash. Okay, almost all hands. Great. So let's remember this response, which is almost 100%. I too prefer UPI and GPay and everything else. So let's use this as context, right? Now, starting with why are we talking about paperwork? And this did work. Okay, great. So why are we talking about paperwork? The reason we are talking about paperwork is because it's part of all your operations. It's not just in customer acquisition, right? Let's just talk about customer acquisition. Before acquiring a customer, you need to enter into agreements with your agents, right? On-field agents, employees. These are the agent partnership contracts, employee contracts, partner onboarding contracts. There's paperwork there. Once that is done, there's also management of the customer. Customer comes up with a request to change something, extend something, take up a top-up loan, or change the terms. Again, there is paperwork with loan account kits, account opening, declarations, so on and so forth, right? Even your digital documents, what seems to be fully paperless also has a regulatory cost associated with it, right? So in a second, we will see how that cost also needs to be accounted for when you're talking about paper and how digital processes can solve things. The other day, I was talking to one of the largest NBFCs, client of ours. They were mentioning how it takes only 50 paise to get a paper printed. And why would they adopt anything digital when the cost of paper is so low? But tell me something. If the cost of paper is the only true cost of paper, then why would you use UPI instead of cash, right? There's a lot of other benefits which are unseen in our day-to-day life, which we need to account for. So let's take a look at what actually creates the problem when we talk about paperwork. Okay, so I will just relate this to what Rahul was facing. Rahul, let's remember, is your agent on ground, is the one actually getting you customers or interacting with your customers. The first is the long turnaround time. Instead of what could have taken a few minutes, he earlier used to spend half a day or the whole day getting one customer onboarded. That's a big problem, turnaround time. Destroys the productivity. We know in our industry of insurance or BFSI generally, the attrition at the lowest level is 40%, 50%, right? Because people just don't want to do repetitive work, which creates mistakes. They don't hit their targets, and then they're back to square one, right? So there is also team productivity issues because of paperwork involved in the process. Third is legal risk. Now, this is where even your paperless transactions, which you may be doing, comes here. Are we complying with all RBI regulations? Are we complying with all IRDA regulations? Most importantly, are we keeping up? Today, you have something which may be compliant. Are we keeping up with changing regulations, right? So even when we are talking about transitioning your paperwork experience into a competitive advantage, we need to think about all these aspects. Okay, so this is where legality comes in. Legality stands on 3 legs. First, compliance. Second, operations. And third, the enterprise solution, right? Talking about compliance first, because of course, not only there are lawyers which care about compliance, I think we all are regulated, so we all need to care about compliance, right? So Leegality offers solutions that during customer onboarding, you can digitally sign your documents, right? Or when you're onboarding a customer, you need to give them a digitally signed document. Either ways, the customer signs or the business signs. We have 16 plus types of e-signatures which help you remain compliant with regulators like RBI, SEBI, IRDI. Even the Ministry of IT has regulations around it. Second, we have a solution called Bharat Stamping. What Bharat Stamping does, it helps you digitize your stamp consumption. Each of your agreements you sign, you have to use a stamp paper that's required. Now, we have customers telling us that they're wasting 30% of the stamp duty inventory just by keeping it physical or keeping it decentralized. What Leegality does, it helps you centralize it into a digital inventory and makes it available on an API that ensures your 30% wastage does not happen. Let's come to the next one. In terms of operations, Leegality helps you in document assembly. The mistakes which Rahul committed during the onboarding of Mrs. Agrawal was he did write a few details in the form. When you use an automated solution like Leegality, document assembly pulls information from your existing systems, right? That helps you ensure there are no mistakes, there are no frauds, there are no scribbles on your document, because that scribbling creates issues in terms of regulations and audits, right? So that is another place we can help with. Very importantly, secure storage. There are innumerable guidelines now from RBI in terms of information security, from IRDI in terms of information security. You need to ensure you have the best-in-class security, and that is what we will provide. All of this is layered with our enterprise platform. What it gives you is 24/7 support. It gives you customer success teams. It comes with pre-integrations. And very importantly, it gives you very transparent reporting. And this reporting actually will help you show return on investment when using a platform like Leegality or when moving digital, right? That return on investment is very key. And we will see in the next sort of steps how certain insurance companies or certain NBFCs have actually achieved return on investment by moving their paperwork into digital experience. Okay. So what is the outcome of going digital with Leegality solutions? We see very fast turnaround time. We see the teams have so much time to do other tasks, right? Other tasks would actually mean acquiring new customers. And that's a big win for the company. The same number of employees can do so much more. We just heard in the last session that LIC has 1.3 million agents. Now, no other insurance company can, like all insurance company can't put together 1.3 million people on ground, right? So we need to think of ways in which you give your team the opportunity to succeed so much more, right? That is how you are going to be able to achieve a competitive advantage. Next comes enjoyable user experience. When you make these solutions available digitally, the customer thinks about you. The customer associates digital with you, which is what we heard in the previous experience. The customer should be given customizable options, but all of that is possible when the basics of paperwork is resolved. Other two is legal security, we just spoke about, and zero logistics. Once you do this, there is no storage, you don't have warehouses, you don't outsource paper, you don't have to keep track of paper, right? That's a whole sort of cost gone in the wind. Great. So now we can just take a look at the variations of clients who sort of use Leegality, which shows how flexible we can be when it comes to implementation. We have a PSU bank, we have multiple private banks, we have very large NBFCs, and we have half a dozen insurance companies, very large insurance companies, digitizing their paperwork. Okay, so now let's actually see what our customers of Leegality is saying. Before implementing Leegality, here Mr. Sunil Kichar of Tata AIG is saying, signatures used to take 10 working days or up to 2 weeks. So after the agreement is closed, you tell the opposite party, you are supposed to print it. You're supposed to pay stamp duty. Then they will go around hunting for stamp papers and pay stamp duty. They'll do the printing, they'll take the signatures, and that will be couriered and will be sent to us. Then you take signatures from your own signing authority, because that's another signature to be done. The best case scenario is 2 weeks, and that's the best case scenario. Now, post Leegality, what has happened? In a digital scenario, what do? You have control. You simply turn it into a PDF, upload it on Leegality, it goes to the opposite party. Simple. Many of the times it is signed in half a day. You don't have to bother, right? These are his words, no paraphrasing here. Okay, Tata Capital Housing, right? The housing industry, one of the most critical industry of our economy. Let's see what Mr. Sahil Palejwal is saying. Before legality, in the physical process, my salesperson would need to spend multiple man hours getting the sanction letters executed, right? Which obviously meant businesses slowed down. People had issues of experience. People had issues of frustrated with the process, right? Now let's see what he's saying. In the legality-driven flow, the total TAT for the sanction letter process is now 7 minutes, right? In 7 minutes now, the journey is complete, right? That's power in the hands of your agents. Okay. So we all hear about crypto. We all hear about investment mantras. At best, if you invest in the stock market, you double your money in, let's say, 6 years or 5 years or 4 years. If you invest in crypto, depending on what's the mood, you either lose all of it or you make 10x return, right? But with legality, and this is from actual data we've gained from our customers, we have return on investment every year of 18x. So every 1 rupee you invest with legality, you get 18x return. And this is not necessary that anything digital you do will give you 18x return. That's not what I'm saying. It needs to be compliant. It needs to have very good implementation, and it needs to solve a real problem, right? So let's be mindful that I'm not advocating digital for the sake of it, right? We need to look at the return on investment. Okay, so this is where it gets even more interesting, right? Regulators today are not only permitting digitization, they are pushing for digitization, right? Let me give you a few examples. Very recently, we had RBI digital lending guidelines, where RBI has mandated digital lenders to digitally sign the documents and send it to the customer. This is because till very recently, customers would get documents from random places or not get documents at all. So they would not know what their sanction amount is. They would not know what the terms are. And that would create bad experience for the industry, right? And which is not good for the industry players. So RBI digital guidelines mandate you to put digital signatures and send it to your customers, right? Similarly, there is back in 2016 itself, IRDA had mandated digital signing of insurance policies by the insurers, right? That has been followed more or less, but there are still white spaces where we see insurers have not digitally signed insurance policies, right? Because we all are consumers of insurance, so it becomes very apparent. There is a new draft paper by IRDA, which sort of came in a couple of months ago, which require insurance companies to take digital signatures on insurance proposals also. Now that's still in a draft stage, but that gives us a tiny peek into the regulator's mindset. The regulator wants digitization, but the regulator wants it to be compliant in customers' best interest, right? So that's where the regulator is. Now, regulator has not only laid down these guidelines, RBI has, sorry, this is not RBI, this is Ministry of IT, has come up with a framework to digitize more documents, right? Till very recently, some of the documents like DPNs, POAs, documents on immovable properties were not allowed to be digitized. And that was handicapping certain segments of our industry. Now they can be digitized, right? So this is super powerful. Okay, so enough said about return on investment, enough said about how you can save turnaround time and cost. Most important thing when you opt for digital solution is how easy is it to implement, right? Because that's exactly where you will get the returns. So industry studies show there are 14 steps of digitization, right? A lot of digital solutions stop at point number 6. 70% of digital transformation do not even reach point number 6, right? Which is a problem because you've bought it, you've tried it, you've trained it, but go live has never happened, right? So we are not seeing 70% of digital transformation is stopping at that stage. After that, we see, look at point number 10, only 16% is reaching till point number 10. Point number 10 is when your teams decide that we cannot go back to physical again, right? Only 16% is reaching that stage, right? This is a problem. This problem shows that even when there is an intent, you are not able to digitize. Now, how is legality different? How is legality solving this? So when you have to use legality, you do it in 4 ways, right? Let's say you want to get unique documents signed with your partners. Every document is different. Every journey is different. Legality has a very intuitive dashboard, which you can give access to your team members, legal team, operations team, business teams, where every journey is uniquely created. At this stage, no involvement of the technology teams, right? Very, very important to keep their workloads less so that they can do so much more otherwise. So very important that we don't burden other teams when you're implementing a digital solution. So in this state of use of legality, you're not burdening the tech team. Somebody like Canada HSBC is using us this way. Second, and this running of smart workflows is unique to legality. It's a unique proposition created by legality. You create a journey in the dashboard, which again helps you uniformize the journey. For example, you do 500 contracts with a similar journey, which means 2 people are signing it, 1 authorized signatory is signing it. The document template is standard. What you need to do is you just create a journey or a blueprint in the dashboard, and your users can only use that journey. That means no mistakes, again, goes to the central point of you being digital, not for the sake of it, but actually to solve problems. Third one, now we have seen cases where somebody like Tata AIG has to send 10,000 contracts in a single day. Now you can't manually send it, neither do you want to involve your technology teams. What we've built is an Excel upload. The same blueprint which you've created or the workflow you've created, you can upload an Excel in your format and 10,000 people will get notified, 10,000 people will sign it, and within a few hours, your contracts are closed. That's the power of digitization. And the last part, using of APIs. At scale, now if you want to digitize, you need to integrate it within your existing solutions. Leegality has built it in such a manner that once you do the integration, any sort of changes, you don't have to do through an API. The same workflow you created for your employees, the same workflow can be changed, and within a few seconds, your API journey is completely different, right? Once again, the technology team is not burdened. This really solves for your problems because now they are building customized products for you because they're not burdened by implementation, right? So we see ICICI Lombard or SBI Cards or Bank of Baroda using us this way. So most importantly, when you're doing digital transformation, we need to think about whether somebody is meeting go-live timelines, whether they're helping you with your daily usage, and whether they're helping you succeed and expand. Leegality helps you with each of this. Just to conclude, this is just our experience across the board, but I'm looking at the time. So just to conclude, if with an existing team you can create a 500 crore AUM, can the same existing team create a 1500 crore AUM? Yes, they can. And that is where legality comes in. And that is your competitive advantage. Thank you so much.